Hi, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making a family favourite spaghetti bolognese sauce. Now this sauce can be used on any pasta. It doesn't have to be spaghetti, it can be any pasta. It can even be used on top of schnitzels to create parmesanas. Now what you'll need is a kilo of beef mince, half a kilo of pork mince, also 2 rations of bacon, just chopped up in little pieces. That's your meat. To that, the veggies that I'll be adding is 2 carrots finely diced, 1 onion, large onion, finely diced into little pieces, 2 celery stalks, sliced into little pieces like this, 3 cloves of garlic. They were fairly large cloves and I've just minced them. 1/4 of a cup of parsley. I prefer the flat leaf parsley, but I was only able to get the curly leaf, but that doesn't matter, it still tastes good. Also to that I've added some of the stalks. I've chopped them up really fine, but because this is a sauce, it's going to take a long time to cook. These stalks will become really soft and tender, and that's where a lot of the flavour is. Herbs, will be using oregano. I'll be using a teaspoon of dried oregano. To that I'll also be adding a teaspoon of dried basil, salt, pepper, tomatoes, pieces in a can. I've got 4 cans, which I find that's probably all you'll need, plus 2 bottles, 700 grams of pasata. If you're one of those Italians who like to make their own sauce, use 2 of those. I'll also be adding some beef stock. You'll also need some red wine. This is a Cab Sav, which is very nice. The nicer the wine, the nicer the taste. We'll be using a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper to taste. Now, let's get started. Okay, well, we're just going to start off by adding some oil to a pot. Make sure you cover it. Don't be afraid to use oil. You need it. Okay. And to that we're going to add, just in sections, we'll cook off about just enough to put on the bottom. We don't want it to braise, so I'm just going to put in that much at a time. Chop it up just until you get it to the sizzle. Maybe a bit more. Turn the gas up. Okay, and as it starts to boil up, fry up, you don't want to overcrowd your pan because you don't want it to get to braise. We want it to turn brown. So it's starting to get to that stage. I'll just add some. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to each batch that I fry, and that way I know I've put it in. You can always add more at the end. And just let that brown. And I'll do that with the next lot. I'll do that with my pork. I'll transfer it into this container. Once I've done that, I'll come back and show you. Okay, we've cooked up all of the beef mince. Now we're cooking up the pork mince. And again, just let that brown. Just do 1 layer at a time. Let it brown and then add it to the other mince. Okay, now we're at the now that we've got everything all fried up, all the mince fried up, turn that down. We'll transfer this take it off. Okay. Just a bit tricky here. Okay. That back on. Okay, we'll reduce the heat, and now we're going to add a little bit more oil. Don't worry if your pan is looking a little bit sad at the bottom. That's all going to come away. And we're going to add our onion. And just let them sweat out. Make sure they're cooked. Nothing's worse than uncooked onions. So just give those a few moments to cook and sweat down, and then we'll start to add all of our other ingredients. Okay, now that the onion has sweat down and it's become quite soft, we can add our garlic. And our bacon. Give that a little stir through. Don't be too concerned about the sides or the bottom catching at the moment, because that's where all the flavour is. We can also add at this stage our carrots and our celery. Just like that. I'm going to stir it right there, just let that sweat down a bit. And then we'll come back again shortly and we'll add a few more things. Okay, now we're going to add our herbs and spices. So I'm going to add a little bit of parsley, teaspoon of oregano, teaspoon of basil, another stir. It smells amazing. Okay, and at this stage, you can also add your wine to deglaze the pan because it's sticking. So we're going to add about that much, which would be a cup. I've got that on fairly high. The alcohol will cook out. So once that's cooked out, then we'll add everything else to it. So see you in about 5. Once the alcohol has evaporated, turn it down a bit, then we start to add everything else. So we will add our mince. Get it all in there. Give it a stir. Make sure you stir it right through. Okay. Now at this stage we add our stock. And then to that we add our tomato. So I'm going to put in 4 cans. Might have to transfer it to a larger pot. Or I may not have to use the pasata, we'll see. And one more. Now, because I'm using 4 cans of tomato, here's a tip. Because there's so much acidity in the tomatoes, it's a good idea to just add a teaspoon to a pot that big of sugar. It'll just take the bitterness away. And then we let that come back to the boil. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to transfer that to a larger pot. We'll come back. Well, we've had to change the pot, so I've transferred into a larger pot. This way I can add my passata. So 1, 2, and what I like to do is just add a little bit of water in these. Get every bit out. There's that. And then one more. And just give it a shake in here. And also we need to add our bay leaves. So we add 3 bay leaves. 1, 2, 3. Give it a nice stir. And you know what? That looks pretty good. We're going to let it come to the boil. Okay, once you get it to the boil, like this, starts to boil. We want to give it a stir because we don't want it to stick on the bottom. Make sure you... And now we're going to pop it on the back. And turn that one off. And we're going to move this one to the back. And just let it simmer. Now, actually, I will add just a little bit more salt and pepper. And a little bit more pepper, a bit more salt. Just give that a stir through. Now, I'll leave the lid on because I don't want it to evaporate. So we'll come back every 10 to 15 minutes and we'll give it a stir to make sure that it's not sticking at the bottom. And it should take about 4 to 5 hours, and then we'll have a beautiful Bolognese sauce. So we'll see you then, and we'll have a look what it looks like then. Okay, so it's been cooking now. I had it cooking for 3 hours with the lid on, and then 2 hours. And look at it, it's so thick. It's just beautiful. And that's what we're after. Now, what we'll do is just turn it off and let it cool down, and then we'll put it in the fridge, and then I'll put it in smaller containers and store it in the freezer, but not without making a nice big bowl of spaghetti tomorrow. Thank you.